My family skipped the biggest moment of my life. No call, no message, not even a polite excuse. Just silence, thick and deliberate, like it was meant to teach me something. It rattled something loose inside my chest, a quiet confirmation of what I'd spent years trying not to believe. So when the news broke about my company's valuation, when my name started appearing in places my family pretended not to read, I didn't expect anything from them. I told myself I was immune now. I told myself their absence no longer mattered. Then my phone lit up a single text from my father. Family dinner 7 p.m., important discussion. No greeting, no congratulations, no acknowledgement of what I'd accomplished. Just a summons, formal, clipped, emotionless. Like a calendar invite you can't decline. I stared at the glowing screen longer than I should have. I didn't feel hope. I didn't feel fear. What settled in was colder than both. Something sharp and clear. This wasn't reconciliation. This was timing. I was still in my office when the message came through. The city outside my windows glowed like someone had scattered constellations across the skyline. Glass towers lit from within, traffic flowing like veins of light. Papers were stacked neatly across my desk, projections, contracts, term sheets, the quiet proof of a life I'd built without them. For once, none of it felt heavy. It had been a long road to get here. Years of borrowed desk space, of late nights when the office lights flickered off one by one, and I kept working anyway. Mornings where I woke up with my laptop keyboard imprinted on my cheek, emails half written in my head. Years of being underestimated, dismissed, smiled at politely and ignored. And now my company's valuation had made the news. People were calling. Investors I'd once chased were suddenly eager. For the first time in a long time, the world seemed to see me clearly. My family never had. My father, Gregory, liked to remind me that real business involved bricks and land, not little digital toys. My mother, Helena, treated my work like a prolonged phase, something I'd eventually grow out of once reality caught up to me. Marcus spoke down to me like he was sharing wisdom from a mountaintop he'd never climbed. And Dylan mostly filmed himself and waited for the universe to reward him for existing. So when that text arrived, family dinner, important discussion, I knew it wasn't about me. Not really. It never had been. Still something hesitated inside me. A small, fragile part that remembered being 21, standing in a cramped college dorm room with a half-read textbook clutched to my chest, waiting for a good luck call that never came. A part that remembered sleeping in my car the night rent was due, when my parents said struggle would build character. A part that, even now, after all the headlines and handshakes, still wondered if showing up one more time might finally change the story. Hope is a dangerous habit. I closed my laptop and grabbed my jacket, the plain one I wore to family events. Blending in had always been easier than explaining myself. The luxury SUV stayed parked in the garage untouched. Instead, I took the old sedan with the worn steering wheel and the stubborn air conditioning. The one my family recognized. Appearing humble kept them comfortable. Comfortable people make mistakes. The drive to the country club was quiet, but my mind wasn't. Memories surfaced uninvited, missed graduations, half-hearted holidays. Conversations where their attention drifted toward whoever was shining brightest for them in that moment. I'd learned early how to shrink myself so their disappointment wouldn't feel so sharp. But tonight felt different. Tonight, I wasn't walking in hoping to be seen. I was walking in knowing exactly what they were. The country club sat on a small hill at the edge of the city, lit up like it was trying too hard to prove something. I pulled in behind a row of pristine cars, sleek and polished, colors that looked expensive even in the dark. My seat groaned as I shut the door. For a moment, I rested my hand on the roof, grounding myself. This place had always felt like neutral territory. Tonight, it felt like a stage. Inside, the marble floors echoed every step. The air smelled like citrus polish and old money, a scent I recognized from childhood events where I hovered at the edges of conversations I wasn't invited into. A young valet nodded at me, then glanced over my shoulder, as if expecting someone more important to follow. No one did. As I approached the private dining room, I heard them before I saw them. Laughter that rose too quickly, too rehearsed. The kind that fills silence rather than joy. The kind people use when they're trying to sell an idea. When I opened the door, they all looked up at once. Caught mid-performance. My father stood first, arms open, smile stretched too wide. "Rose, finally!" My mother followed, kissing my cheek before pulling back to examine me critically. "You look tired. Are you eating enough?" Marcus smirked from his seat, swirling a glass of wine. Dylan barely lifted his eyes from his phone. I sat down in the chair slightly apart from the rest, as if it had been arranged that way. Maybe it had. The conversation began the way it always did, thin, polished, surface level. Questions about my little company, my busy schedule, delivered in tones that suggested indulgence rather than interest. I nodded, answered calmly, let them play their roles. Then Marcus leaned back, eyes narrowing. "So," he said casually, "your name made the news today." "There it was." My father nodded. "Quite the attention grabber. Must be exciting," Marcus added. Exciting. The way someone might say inconvenient. The air shifted subtly. My mother glanced at Gregory. Victor, ever the strategist, cleared his throat. I felt it instantly, that tightening under my ribs, the instinct honed over years of walking into traps I didn't recognize until they snapped shut. My father leaned forward, fingers pressed together. "We actually wanted to discuss something important with you tonight, Rose." And just like that, I knew. This dinner wasn't a celebration. It was a transaction. And the reckoning had already begun. The moment my father said something important, the room seemed to recalibrate itself around me. The lights felt harsher, the table suddenly too small. Every face turned with the same quiet hunger I'd seen before. Not love, not pride, but expectation. Victor cleared his throat the way he always did before delivering bad news disguised as opportunity. "As you know," he began, smoothing the front of his jacket, "the motel group has been weathering some challenges. Challenges." He wrapped the word in silk, hoping it wouldn't sound like what it really was. Gregory jumped in quickly, like he didn't want the truth lingering too long. "We're on the brink of something big," he said. "A full transformation of the flagship property. Spy upgrades. Renovated suites. A proper event space." I blinked slowly. The flagship property was barely holding together, duct tape, nostalgia, and deferred maintenance pretending to be history. Marcus leaned forward, elbows on the table, confidence spilling out of him like it always did when the risk wasn't his. "This could be legacy defining, Rose. The kind of long-term asset your digital thing just can't match." Digital thing. My mother reached for my arm, her fingers soft, almost trembling. "Honey, this is a chance to be part of the family's future. To give back. We carried you for so long. It feels right." Right. All their eyes were on me now, waiting for the version of Rose they remembered. The accommodating one. The grateful one. The daughter who still believed approval could be earned. Gregory leaned closer, his voice dropping into its business register. "We need a bridge loan. Just $1.5 million. You've got access. Credit, new connections. The status?" He said status like it was a faucet I could turn on for them whenever they were thirsty. "We'll pay you back with interest," Victor added quickly. "Once construction financing hits. This is a chance to buy into the family's empire." Empire. I stayed still, watching the fine details instead, the sheen of sweat forming at my father's temples. Victor's restless hand on his glass, Marcus's smile stretched too tight. Dylan finally looked up from his phone and gave a small nod, like that was his contribution. There was a time I would have folded under this. A time when my family's approval felt like oxygen. A time when I mistook their need for love. But I wasn't starving anymore. I placed my napkin on the table, smoothing it carefully. "You skipped the biggest moment of my life," I said evenly. "But you're here for this." No one spoke. The silence pressed against my skin, thick and uncomfortable. Gregory's jaw tightened. "Don't be dramatic. This is about family." Family. The word landed like a stone. I met his eyes. Calm, steady. "I didn't come here to rescue an empire you already burned down." My mother gasped softly. Victor stiffened. Marcus's smile cracked just slightly. And somewhere inside me something locked into place, a clarity that didn't shake. Gregory leaned back, the fake warmth draining from his face. So that's your stance, he said. You're really going to lecture us about sacrifice? Marcus scoffed. She gets a little attention online and suddenly she's above everyone. My mother dabbed her eyes with a napkin that didn't need it. We're trying to include you, Rose. Don't twist this into something ugly. Ugly. Victor folded his hands, slipping into his patronizing calm. $1.5 million is pocket change compared to your valuation. This is strategic. For all of us. For all of us. I repeated slowly. Tell me. Victor, when did you ever consider what was good for me? Was it when I asked Dad for help with my first lease, or when you called my accelerator application a hobby dressed up as ambition? He stiffened. I was guiding you. No, I said quietly. You were keeping me small because it made you comfortable. Gregory's fist tightened around his wine glass. We didn't come here to dig up old grievances. We came to build something real. Something lasting. Something lasting, I echoed. Like the leaking roofs, or the broken heating system downtown, or the maintenance bills you haven't paid in months. The silence cracked. My mother went pale. Marcus straightened. Victor's eyes narrowed. Gregory blinked. How would you even know that?
I pay attention,
I said. You just never paid attention to me. Dylan finally put his phone down. Rosie, what are you saying? I looked at all of them. That you're not looking for an investor. You're looking for a lifeline. Victor's mask slipped. That's outrageous. I reached for my bag, calm and deliberate. Came tonight because I wanted to hear the story you'd tell. Same script. Same guilt. Same entitlement. Marcus leaned forward. Stop being dramatic. Are the properties fine? I asked softly. I placed a plain, heavy folder on the table. I showed up with the one thing you never expected, I said. The truth. Gregory's eyes narrowed. What is that? Before I could answer, the door opened. Ava stepped inside. Her presence shifted the room instantly, pressed Blazer's steady posture. Eyes that missed nothing. She walked straight to me, ignoring everyone else. Everything's finalized, she said calmly. The transfer is complete. My father shot to his feet. Transfer. Transfer of what? I slid the folder toward him. Your motel group, I said. Your debt, your obligations. Victor's voice cracked. That's impossible. The bank hasn't. The bank sold it. Ava cut in, last week, to a private investment entity. Gregory looked at me, confused.
What entity?
I met his eyes. The room didn't explode. It imploded. And in that silence, I watched their world begin to collapse, piece by piece, right in front of them. For a moment, no one moved. No one breathed. It was as if the room itself needed time to understand what I'd just said. My father's mouth opened, then closed. Marcus pushed his chair back, shaking his head like denial might physically move reality. Dylan whispered something under his breath, half prayer, half curse. My mother finally found her voice. Rose, what have you done? What you forced me to do, I replied calmly. You wanted me to invest in an empire. But there is no empire. There's only debt. Victor grabbed one of the documents, his fingers trembling as he scanned the pages. Color drained from his face with every line he read. Overdue payments. Contractor disputes. Compliance violations. Maintenance neglect bad enough to be flagged as a liability. This can't be right, he whispered. This isn't salvageable. It is, I said gently. Just not by you. Gregory slammed his hand on the table, the sound sharp enough to make my mother flinch. You think you can humiliate me like this? You think because you made some money you can play God? I leaned forward, meeting his fury without flinching. I'm not playing anything. I'm cleaning up what you broke, and I'm done financing the illusion that you're still in control. Marcus exploded out of his chair. You blindsided us? You should have told us. Told you what? I asked. That I wasn't going to write a blank check. That I wasn't going to be your bailout plan in heels. My mother reached for me, tears finally spilling. Rose, please. This is our life. And it will continue. I said softly. Just not under your management. Ava slid one final envelope across the table. My buyout offer, I said. 200,000. Clean. Enough to start over. More than the equity is worth. More than they deserved. Gregory stared at it like it might bite him. I'm not taking your pity money. It's not pity, I said. It's severance. He slammed his palm down again. You are no daughter of mine. For the first time in my life, those words didn't cut. They freed me. You're right, I said, standing and smoothing my jacket. I'm not the daughter you wanted. I'm the daughter you made. The room erupted, Marcus shouting. Victor muttering about legal challenges, Dylan swearing under his breath. But my father stayed frozen, staring at the paperwork as his world shrank around him, realization setting in that this wasn't a negotiation. Ava opened the door for me. Before I left, I looked back at them, not with anger, not with triumph, but with certainty. I didn't come here to save your empire, I said. I came to end my part in it. Then I walked out. The night air hit me like a reset button, cool, steady, honest. Behind me, their chaos continued, voices tangled in panic and blame. Out here, everything felt quiet. Clean. Ava walked beside me toward the parking lot. You sure you're okay? She asked. Solid, I said. And for the first time, it wasn't a performance. I finally stopped hoping they'd become people they never were. My old sedan sat at the edge of the lot, but tonight I didn't need the disguise. Ava handed me the keys to my SUV, sleek dark mine. You don't have to hide anymore, she said. I sat behind the wheel, letting the silence settle. No missed calls, no demands, no guilt wrapped in obligation. My phone buzzed once. My mother's name. I watched the screen light up, flicker, then go dark. I didn't answer. I didn't hesitate. I blocked the number, letting it disappear the same way their version of me finally had. As I pulled onto the main road, the city opened up ahead, lights blinking like invitations to a life I hadn't let myself imagine. One not built around rescuing people who never showed up for me. They always said family was forever. But sometimes forever is just the amount of time you allow people to hurt you. Walking away from that country club, I understood something simple and sharp. Love isn't measured by blood. It's measured by presence, by who shows up when it matters. Mine only showed up when they smelled opportunity. So if you've ever had to choose yourself over people who kept taking from you, know this: you're not selfish. You're surviving. And sometimes survival is the bravest form of freedom.